Hello everyone, my name is MF Pallytime. What's the MF stand for? Anything your heart desires. We are on the Heroes of the Storm PTR today, and we are going to be taking a look at the newest addition to Heroes of the Storm. Her name is Li-Ming. This is going to be a very long, drawn-out look at all of her talents and her basic abilities. And her heroic abilities, I guess, if we want to get really specific. I'm going to go over all of them, share my thoughts, and come up with a few builds that I think may be viable once the character is fully released into the game. Does that not sound like it's for you? Then you don't have to watch this video. You have been warned. Look at her. She's beautiful. Let's go. Okay, so her abilities. Her Q ability is called Magic Missiles. It has a really interesting, I don't know what you call this, spell trajectory. For instance, it will go to where your cursor is. So if you're dueling someone super up close, all of your projectiles will converge on one point. And if you miss with them, congratulations, you dealt no damage. So it is pretty hard to use. You can also put your cursor further away from your character and spread the projectiles out a bit, hitting more minions in a lane or more people in a team fight. It really is up to you. They do have a pretty substantial travel time too, so getting used to where to place these abilities and how long it takes to actually get to their target is going to take some time for most players. But that being said, at level 1, you can do something like 600 damage if you land all of these bad boys in the same spot. That may be a little high of an estimate, but you know what? That's okay. That's okay. So you really can't punish people if they are standing out to where they shouldn't be. You can really punish people if they chase you down, because of course this is pretty easy to land on a target that's moving towards you, and the projectiles kind of take longer to start moving. Really cool ability. Really high skill cap on this too, so don't be ashamed if you can't get the hang of it right away. It will take some time, but man, you can really punish people that step out of position with this. And we're not even talking about the talents for it yet. It gets even more punishing. Her W ability is called Arcane Orb, and I would like you to take a look at the shot indicator for this. So you can see how it has these little indentations. I believe those indentations represent damage increase along the trajectory of the projectile. What does that mean? Well, at level 20 right now, we're going to deal 271 damage to anyone that's very close to us when we cast the ability. But if we hit someone at the end of the skill shot, it's going to do significantly higher, 813 damage. So the farther the projectile of Arcane Orb goes, the more damage you're going to be dealing to whoever it decides to impact. Really good for pushing lanes, really good for harassing, and of course dealing AoE damage in a team fight. It's quite nice as well. Most of the builds, or the build that I would recommend the most is focused almost entirely around that Arcane Orb ability. Obviously pretty easy to dodge because it is such a slow projectile, but that just allows you to punish enemies if they're trying to juke around with your Q ability a bit more. Your E ability is called Teleport. It has a 30-second mana cost and a 5-second cooldown. By the way, let's go back and look at cooldowns. 3-second cooldown on Magic Missile and a 10-second cooldown on your Arcane Orb. Teleport, 5-second cooldown, 30 mana cost, and it's a very small teleport. Don't think of this as a gap closer or anything, although you can use it for that. Think of it as a, oh shit, there's a Stitches hook coming for me. Now it's not. Oh no, there's a Falstad hammer flying directly towards my face. Now it's not. The only time you're really able to scale anything is when it's a very thin building like the wall here. If we go over to the well and stand right next to it, we can just barely blink over to the other side, and I do mean barely. Excuse me. So it does have its uses for escaping, but it's mostly for disorienting your opponent. That's how I would think about it anyway. For instance, this wall right here, no way in hell you can get over this thing. And this is something that most characters would be able to scale. If you want to compare it to an ability already in the game, I would compare it to Tychus's E ability, his little dash. Pretty much the same concept as far as I can tell. So, talents. Oh, wait. The coolest part of her basic kit, critical mass. Getting a takedown will refresh the cooldown on all of your abilities. So your basic abilities, your heroic ability, will go off cooldown when you secure an assist or a kill on a target. So basically, you become a machine gun of all of your spells in the middle of team fights. Once someone dies, you're able to dump out thousands more damage and probably secure another kill. And then thousands of more damage and then probably secure another kill. It's a really, really, really rewarding playstyle. She's always doing something in team fights. And I talked about how Greymane has like 2 modes. The range mode where you're kind of pokey and then all of a sudden that switch flips and you go in for the kill and you go hard. Li-Ming kind of has that same mentality, whereas, you know, you're kind of poking, oh shit, they're all getting low and my cooldowns are starting to cycle, let's go ham, and then, you know, you jump in and you deal a ton of damage to everyone. Really, really, really fun trait. Just awesome, just awesome. So talents at level 1, we have Astral Presence. This is the one I typically go for. Because you're spamming your abilities so much, you don't want to run out of mana. It's a very, very important part of your playstyle to always have enough mana to spam an ability. So Astral Presence is typically what I go for. Your mana regeneration is increased by 100% while below half mana. So once you hit 50% mana, it's going to regenerate significantly faster. Power Hungry. Regeneration globes restore 100% more mana and grant 10% ability power for 20 seconds. Incredibly situational. You will be able to do a lot more damage in team fights if you're able to get a regen globe prior to entering the team fight, and then it only lasts for 20 seconds. Like, one of the most situational talents in the entire game, and I can't in good conscience recommend that you pick this up on really any build. I'm not gonna lie. Force Armor. When Magic Missile damages an enemy hero, you gain a charge of Spell Block, reducing the damage from the next enemy ability against you by 50%. So it's a spell shield that can hold 4 charges, and you generate these charges by dealing damage with your abilities. So you can stack this up very, very rapidly. If you're going against a mage-heavy team, this is going to do wonders for your survivability. You can hold 4 charges of this. And basically what that means is you can go into a team fight. If you do get hit by an ability, you're instantly going to get another charge because you're probably dealing damage back to that target as well. So this is going to increase her survivability tenfold versus mage targets. But of course, it's not going to do much versus auto attack heroes. So definitely situational, but very, very good survivability talent in those situations. And then Aether Walker is the last talent in the first tier. If you haven't taken damage for the last 5 seconds, teleport costs no mana and its cooldown is reduced by 2 seconds. So instead of a 5-second cooldown on your tiny little teleport that doesn't matter, you're going to get a 3-second cooldown on your tiny little teleport that doesn't matter, and it's going to have no mana cost. I cannot recommend this one either. Like, you don't use this to get around, you use this to reposition. Granted, in a team fight, yeah, you could chase someone down a little bit, I guess, but I don't know. I would say Astral Presence and Force Armor are the go-tos here. Astral Presence being my favorite in that tier. At level 4, Charge Blast. Magic missiles mark enemies for bonus damage. That sounds good until you read that it's basic attack damage on a recently hit target by a magic missile. They get hit for another 200 damage at level 20. So if you wanted to go for a very aggressive teleport-oriented build, where you would constantly be chasing someone, Charge Blast would allow you to deal more damage with your next auto attack. That would be a very, very risky playstyle, though. I can see it working, however. I think it could be viable. Essence of Johan is my favorite in this talent tier. When Arcane Orb damages an enemy, they are pulled towards its center. Fantastic. Great crowd control. Well, excuse me, not actually the best crowd control, but you take it because it has some really good synergy with your other talents that you can pick up. Specifically, both of your heroics benefit a lot from the Essence of Johann talent. Oh, how do you say this? Triumvirate? If Arcane Orb hits an enemy hero after traveling at least 80% of its base range, the cooldown is reduced by 7 seconds. Now, I thought this sounded fantastic. But the problem is, if you're ever in a spot where someone is chasing you, it's very, very, very difficult to land your W ability at that range required. Because, of course, you know, Thrall or Zeratul or, I don't know, other characters, they're going to be chasing after you because you're a very high priority target. You're able to deal a ton of damage, and you're very, very squishy. One of the lowest health characters in the game at level 20, I would imagine. So, of course, people are going to be trying to gap close all over you to chase you down and kill you. So the odds of you actually being at this range very often is not too good. And let's say you are at maximum range and you miss your skill shot, well then basically nothing just happened. you still have to wait the full cooldown anyway. So while it is situational, maybe someone better than me can make this talent work. I can't recommend it simply because it's not consistent enough. Dominance. Takedowns restore 25% of your maximum health. This one's decent. Remember, 25% of your maximum health isn't that much health. But when you're incentivized to be diving into these team fights really, really heavy when your cooldowns get reset, this one could really have some benefits to keeping you healthy and survivable in those situations. I, however, have been going for Essence of Johann, and I've been able to make it work quite well. Let me go ahead and toggle off cooldowns, and I'll try to show you how it works a little bit. So essentially, when the projectile goes out, it just kind of pulls, it impacts with the first thing, you know, that gets in the way, and then it'll pull anything into that area of impact. So it allows you to control the battlefield just a little bit. Nothing incredible or anything, but like I said, it does have some really good synergy with your heroic abilities. So cooldown's back to normal at level 7. Seeker, which is if your magic missile hits the same target, all 3 of them. So if you position it perfectly and all 3 of them hit the same target, the third one deals an additional 285 damage at level 21. So you do get some more damage burst out of it. And remember, if you're fantastic at landing this spell, you are going to be able to spam this every 3 seconds. So we just basically did 900 damage there. It would have done 1100 in that scenario. And then if we were good at it, we can continue to land these bad boys quite often. Definitely viable under the right circumstances. Remember, if anything gets in the way, it is going to mess up your projectiles. So you're not going to be dealing that bonus damage all of the time. But when you do, it could have a very, very meaningful impact. In fact, I think all of the talents in this talent tier are situational and could be used in just about any variant of any build. Then we have Zai's Vengeance. Arcane Orb deals more damage from afar, which is how the spell is already set up anyway. So up close, we're going to deal 279 damage right now, and at a distance, we're going to deal 838. Well, that's how it works, like, by default. It deals less damage to things up close and more damage to things further away. So that was 837. If we pick up the talent, let's toggle our cooldowns. If we pick up the talent, it didn't actually turn my cooldown. Now we're dealing over 1,000 to distant enemies, and we don't have to change anything about our build. So basically just accentuating how the spell is supposed to be used in the first place. And it is very, very, very powerful. The other option at level 7 is Calamity. Teleport does 558 damage to enemies near your destination. So if you wanted to go for more of an aggressive build, which is going to be hard to pull off because you are so squishy, as you teleport in on people, which you can do every 5 seconds, you are going to deal basically impact damage of 500. Again, could be really cool when you go in with all of your cooldowns reset and try to get a lot of damage done, but you're actively putting yourself in harm's way. So it's going to take a very refined set of skills, not only by the player, but also their talents in order to make a build like that work, but definitely has its place. At level 10, our first heroic is Disintegrate. This causes you to stand still and then deal damage in a beam. At level 20, you can see I'm dealing 30 damage in that beam for its, I was going to say for its full duration, but you can actually miss. So this is bound, I'm going to toggle off cooldowns again. This is bound to your cursor, so you can kind of wave this around wherever you want to. Very, very, very responsive. See how much damage it does. So it does, is that accurate? Oh my god, Blizzard, it's accurate. Look at your tooltip. It does 1,227 damage at level 21. But keep in mind, it is going to be a little difficult to keep this on a target at all times. And while you are casting this, you are going to be completely immobile. But when you chain it together with your other skills, as you can see, it can do some considerable burst damage. And also important to remember that it is affected by your trait just like every other ability. So if you get a kill, all of your cooldowns are going to be reset, including your heroic ability. So you're going to be able to deal a lot of damage in the middle of team fights, especially if the enemy team is very clumped up. You can really, really, really punish them. Again, the downside is that you can't move while this is casting, but you can cancel it by hitting R again if you do need to reposition. It's also worth mentioning that this is a pretty good siege ability. Every 20 seconds, you're going to be able to do some significant damage to buildings if you decide to use it. And because her cooldowns are so minimal, again, with her trait and then just how she's designed in general, she has very, very fast cooldowns. You are going to be able to just use these on buildings if you want to. So I think that's worth mentioning as well. Her other heroic ability is kind of... it's more AoE damage focused, but you're not going to get as much damage out of it. It's not a DPS thing. You do get a small amount of crowd control, however. So it is called Wave of Force, and basically you have a pretty large area of effect. It's going to deal damage to everything in that area of effect, and also knock targets out from the center. So again, referencing Tychus, think of the Tychus grenade, but instead of having a travel time, it's just instantaneous. And it is going to be able to deal that damage and move targets out of the way. And again, both of her ultimates have some really, really good synergy with the Essence of Johantown at level 4. Collapsing everything and then dealing that damage could be really, really, really effective in team fights. So both heroics have their place. Disintegrate takes a bit more knowledge of positioning, whereas Wave of Force can be used to save you in certain circumstances and deal consistent AoE damage. You don't have to worry about missing as much with Wave of Force as you do as Disintegrate. So I think they both have their place. Wave of Force is safer and Disintegrate deals more damage. So there you go. There you go. At level 13, I think this is a really interesting talent here as well. Cannoneer, when you use an ability, increase your next basic attack by 75%, and this is the interesting part, and causes it to deal ability damage, which I think means that instead of someone being able to block this bonus damage, it's going to deal ability damage instead. So if they have Spell Shield, it may nullify it, but block will have no merit here, which is interesting. This could have some synergy if you did go for the charged blast at level 4. But in most cases, you know, this is... I don't think this one's going to be picked very often. Glass Cannon increases your ability power by 15%, but decreases your maximum health by 15%. So at level 22, we are just under 3,000 health. If you take Glass Cannon, your health goes down to 2485. You lose 500 health, but you deal 15% more damage. And remember, you're a character with very, very low cooldowns, and you're a character that can have their cooldowns reset in a team fight. So this extra damage can be insane. But of course, he becomes so much more vulnerable without that extra 500 health. The other option would be Illusionist. Increases your teleport range by 50%, so you can use it to move around quite a bit more effectively. And if you lose the more than 15% of your maximum health at one time, which will happen quite a bit because you don't have much health, you are then going to be able to blink again. Really, really, really good for survivability. This cannot happen more than once every 4 seconds, however. So, in a long delayed chase, you are going to be able to get multiple applications of this free teleport off. But if you're just straight up bursted down by the enemy team, like in half a second, this isn't going to do much good for you. I would say in most cases, Illusionist is going to be the highest performing talent here. Cannoneer does give you a lot more damage off of your auto attacks, but again, you have to play a lot more aggressively. Glass Cannon makes you a lot squishier, but increases your ability damage by 15%. So if you're already on the back line dealing a ton of damage, just makes you better at it. Now, if you're ever going up against Zeratul or a Nova or anything that can really burst you down, absolutely pick something else. Then go for Illusionist, I think. At level 16, Fireflies. Drastically increases the missile speed of your Q ability and lowers its cooldown by 1 second. That would give you a 2-second cooldown on magic missiles and a significantly more responsive travel time. Could be amazing for overall damage output if you were interested in really using this Q all the time. I would pick up some different talents earlier in the game, however, if you were going to go for this. Mirror Ball. Magic Missiles fires an additional 2 missiles, again on a 3-second cooldown, but you get 2 more missiles that would deal the same amount of damage as the missiles that you have now. Again, really, really good. Arcane Orbit. Arcane Orb travels 25% further, doing up to 25% more damage. When our build is already focused around Arcane Orb as it is, this can be incredibly deadly to use against an enemy team. And then Diamond Skin. Teleport grants a shield for 25% of your maximum health for 4 seconds. Now keep in mind, your maximum health does get lowered with Glass Cannon, so those two talents don't go well together at all. You know, from a percentage point of view. But giving yourself a shield, obviously, when you are squishy is very good. Arcane Orbit is what we're going to go for. Now it travels a crazy distance. Let's go ahead and throw it out here. Minion got in the way. That does become a problem. As the projectile does get bigger, it is going to be blocked by more and more things. That is for sure. Where you going, Arfis? Oh, that was a pretty good hardened shield. Never mind. I'm sorry, Arfis. I was going to make fun of you. Okay, then at level 20, we have Repulsion. Increases the cast range. Let me actually read the real details rather than the simplified ones. Increases the wave of force knockback distance by 150% and increases its cast range by 100%. So, basically improving the utility of the ability. And not much else. It doesn't increase the damage or anything, so that's kind of up to you at this point if you want to pick that up. Then you have Talrasha's Elements. Your abilities benefit from 20% of your bonus damage as long as they aren't cast twice in a row. Which is really, really cool. Really, really cool. So it incentivizes you to weave your spells together a bit more. Which is not very hard to do, actually. Not very hard to do at all. Or we have Archon Pure Power. Activate to enter Archon form, allowing you to repeatedly use Disintegrate, but you are unable to cast other abilities. So that's pretty situational too. In most cases, no matter your build, I think Talrasha's Elements is going to be a pretty big benefit for you. Although there is an argument for each of these talents here. So there's a visual indicator for this too, which is pretty nice. I used Teleport, I used my Q ability, and then I used my ultimate, and that's what I can do to Arfis Minifil as far as burst damage. Isn't that crazy? Now you do have to start to worry about your cooldowns a little bit. We do want to keep this 20% increased damage. So let's go ahead, throw out our W. Let's wait for it. Here we go. W's out, then we're gonna blink in. We're gonna miss everything with our Q. Like, you really are incentivized to weave your spells together like never before. And you can use your teleport as a filler just to keep this increased damage going. Look at the icons on the screen as they change with what spells I'm allowed to cast. Really, really cool, and I'm glad there's a visual indicator for this. Otherwise, it could get quite confusing quite quickly. But you really are able to just punish enemies even more. She's all about damage output and weaving her spells together. And I think this talent at level 20 fits in with her kit incredibly well. So, this is the build I would recommend if you wanted to deal really, really good, consistent, safe damage. Astral Presence, your mana regeneration is increased by 100%. when you're below half mana. Essence of Johan, your W ability will pull people into the center. Then you get increased damage to distant targets by 25%. Wave of Force is an AoE on top of that. Glass Cannon increases your ability power by 15%, but of course you become 15% weaker as far as your maximum health is concerned. And then Arcane Orb travels 25% further, doing up to 25% more damage, and then Tolrash's Elements for an additional 20% more damage. Yes, we are going up against a tank here, but Arthas, we could almost burst him down. Arthas, incredibly strong character. We could punish him. If we could punish him, we could punish just about anyone in this game. You know what I'm saying? Run, Arthas. Run from me. Run from me, Arthas. Look at that. Insane amount of damage. Just insane. Now, there are some other variants you should take a look at. So let's go ahead and reset our talents. And I want to just show you a few more things. So we're going to go for essentially the same build here again. A W-focused build, but this time with Disintegrate instead. So, Disintegrate also benefits from clumping enemies up and then using your beam on them. That's some consistent damage. Archon, which was one of the spells I was excited about being added to the game, is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So, we know the weaknesses for Disintegrate in the first place is you can't move, and you can miss your target, basically. They can move out of the way. Archon is like, fuck it, you like Disintegrate? Here's an even better Disintegrate. It doesn't cost any mana. You turn it to an Archon, but you lose your other abilities. You can't do anything else while in Archon mode. And when you switch out of Archon mode, you are kind of stunned for a second. You kind of fall on the... Excuse me, you kind of fall on the ground, and you have to, like, stand back up. So there is that time, like... If an enemy's coming for you, you need to see that very early on. You need to get out of Archon form and then blink. So it takes a lot of... Yeah, you really have to be prepared, I guess, is the point I'm trying to drive home. But in Archon form, you can just do fucked up things. Like, I can just sit here. I can just sit here for as long as I want to and kill your building 38 damage at a time. And you can do this in the middle of team fights, too, if you position appropriately. You could really punish people. But of course, right now, I can't move. If I move my cursor, it moves the thing. I'm being killed by mercenaries right now. I think these mercenaries can kill me. Oh no, someone's fighting me in a team fight. You have to then get out of the form, which takes a long time, and then reposition. So it has its place, and it's really, really, really cool. It's just going to be very, very, very difficult to use. And then the upgrade for Disintegrate, if you wanted to go for that, simply increases... what did I pick here? Range. Or simply adds a slow to the effect, which could be really, really good. It's a 60% slow. So this could have a lot of team utility if you didn't want to go for that flat damage. Hello? Do you guys... where's Arthas? Arthas? Come out, I need to show this. I need to show this to the viewers. So again, you want to clump things up with your W ability, try to get the most damage out of it possible. Didn't even hit Arthas there because the projectile got so big that the minions can just soak it up. But here we go. Here we go. So we clump things up, use Disintegrate, and all of a sudden, where's he gonna go? So it allows you to deal that damage a lot more reliably. And it could help your team out a lot. And remember, when he dies, you can do all of that all over again. So that can be incredibly strong too. I'm not sure which one is going to be the go-to. I think they all have their place, and I'm amazed I'm saying that. I think you could use either and it would be fine. So, what are some other variants that you can do? Let's go ahead and reset our talents here. Magic Missiles grant spell block. I would still say Astral Presence in most cases. Spell Shield's pretty situational. We're going to go for increased damage on auto attacks when we hit someone with our Q. We're going to go for Teleport deals damage, Wave of Force, Cannoneer, and then Teleporting grants a shield. Why not? And then we'll do Tolrash's. So this would be this would be an attack damage focused build. So we toggle someone, then we go in and we hit them. And then we just spam our abilities. And we just really try to pressure home the fact that we want to deal auto attack damage to someone. This build could be viable if you want to play super aggressively. You don't have glass cannon here, so your health is going to top out around 3k. You are still incentivized to kind of weave your spells together with raucous, but if you hit someone with your Q ability, they are going to be marked and take increased critical hit damage. And then, of course, you can just weave this together with everything. As you teleport in, you are going to be dealing damage as well. Teleport's on a very low cooldown. The blast radius is going to take 500 damage. So if you teleport in right on someone, they are going to take a lot of damage. If you auto-attack them right then too, that's going to be an extra 200, so that's 700 burst damage right there. Let's go ahead and weave all of these together, shall we? So that was just 3,000 burst damage we did in that moment alone, just because we wanted to be really aggressive. So, situational, I would say, for sure, but can definitely deal a ton of damage in the right scenario. We just did 6,000 damage in the course of, what, 6 seconds or something? Really strong. Really strong. But a lot more aggressive. You are putting yourselves in harm's way a lot more, and it's going to take a really advanced understanding of the game to pull anything like this off. Although it could be incredibly fun. Like, I'm looking forward to playing this build. I don't think it's going to be, you know, the #1 win rate on Hot Slogs, simply because it's way too complicated to be the #1 win rate. You know, people like easy builds, and that's what it comes down to. But look at that shit you can do in a moment's notice. Granted, I do have a 4-level advantage, so maybe we should set our level back again. Maybe we should set our level back and actually give this a decent look. Okay, let's try that one more time. Let's try that one more time. Oh no, I want to charge blasts. Charged blasts. And then teleport damage. Then Wave of Force, because we want to do that instantaneous damage, right? Cannoneer for even more instantaneous damage. Diamond Skin, because we're going to fucking die. Because we need Diamond Skin. So here we go. Let's open up. We open up with W. And then we teleport in, mark them. That's still some impressive fucking damage to a tank at level 20. That's really impressive. That could be so much fun. So yeah, you have the W build, you have the kind of very aggressive teleport build, and there are some definite other options in here as well if you wanted to just play around with your talents. I think you really can mix and match these quite well. But that's going to be it for me today. I'm going to let you guys figure out some builds on your own. You know what I'm saying? Do it on your own. She is super fun to play. I've played her in 4 or 5 games now, and I'm having a blast. Totally unique playstyle, really different from every other mage in the game, and I think she's going to be a fantastic addition to the hero pool. So thank you all for watching today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Of course, if you did, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. I do content all the damn time, except for when I don't. And I'll see you all next time.